Hi everyone, I'm Aurélie Koene from Stadia. I'm a business developer. I'm the first employee overseas because this company has started in Belgium in 2018. I have a first question. Who watched the Super Bowl last weekend? Like a lot of people. Who was happy about the outcome? Okay, I know where the Eagles fans are. Last year there was a player, Drew Greenlaw, that got injured because he slipped on the turf actually. I'm gonna do this with a cliffhanger. At the end, I'm gonna tell what we have to do with this. Let me first start with the problem statement. So our motto is performance starts from the surface. So in sports, a lot of teams, they look into GPS tracking, they ask players about how they feel, they track sleep, nutrition, their injury history, all kinds of training schedules, but mostly they don't look at the surface yet, and that's where we come into place. We did a questionnaire a year ago for about two MLB grounds managers, and we asked them what is important for them to measure. They said that firmness, stability, and moisture are very important, but as you see on the blue graphs, they actually don't do it. Now, why is this important? A lot of things influence the surface. So it can be turf, so artificial, or it can be natural grass, doesn't really matter. The time of the year, the type of activities, the maintenance, the amount of trainings all have an influence on how the grass or the turf is reacting. That also has an influence on, for example, the game strategy. For example, in baseball, for ball bounce. And also for injuries and fatigue. So what do we do about this? We have actually developed two devices. One is measuring hardness and some other metrics, and the other one is measuring rotational traction. I have the rotational traction tester with me, so if you want to have a look at it afterwards, feel free to look at it closer by. And so the testing happens for the club. They can do it where they want, when they want. So we actually rent those devices out to them, so they have it all the time. And we also sell licenses yearly. And so if they test, normally the testing is done in 15 minutes, and then afterwards the data is immediately uploaded into our software platform. And from there, they can start making adjustments on the field. They can adjust training drills, they can adjust footwear. So performance goes up, injury risk goes down. So as already mentioned, we are active in football, in baseball, and in soccer. We actually started out in soccer in Belgium, in Europe. And yeah, our target groups are performance directors, coaches, trainers, grounds managers to work with our system. So this is a bit how our platform looks like. So we work with a traffic lighting system, so it's easy to visualize and to see where the bad spots are and where the better spots are. So the field is as consistent as possible. We have a lot of advanced analytics that I can go into detail, but we also have a calendar to track activities for grounds managers. That's one of my favorite parts of the tool, actually. I think grounds managers find it very interesting to use that as well. A little bit about the team. So the company was founded not by me, but by Reese and Jan from UK and Belgium in 2018. Reese was a former grounds manager for Arsenal FC. He has been awarded 7 times Best Grounds Manager in the Premier League. So he's very much an expert in the field. And he started off like writing all his metrics in Excel and like manually. And he said, this is not very professional. Let's do something about it and make it more efficient and more easy to do. And Jan has a background in IT, so they combined their two backgrounds into Stadia. Now the team is a little bit bigger. I'm the first employee in the US to expand the business here. We have performance people, we have grounds people, we have sales profiles, marketing, finance, everything. Our market is in the sports technology, which is huge, which is still growing. These are some of our clients. So some renowned names. So I'm working closely with the Carolina Panthers here in Charlotte FC, which they are amazing to work together with. So we're doing a pilot project with them for our football products. These are some numbers. The yearly average customer value is 27,500, but it's still going to rise because our prices for US are a little bit higher, and we really want to make that our biggest market. So why do our customers buy? Because injuries are expensive. So if you could just prevent one injury by measuring and by educating the team about what's going on the field, then yeah, actually the price is very low for a product. And yeah, these are our markets. Some competitors, but I want to go to yeah, what we need. So we are looking for 6.5 million in a Series A to achieve profitability by June 2026. Besides that, I know not everyone has this amount of money, but we're also looking for new clients, of course. So if you would know anyone in a performance team or in a grounds team or in the operations team of a club or university, because universities is also a big market for us, then feel free to connect them to me. And of course, I would also like some feedback on my presentation skills, because this is the first time I'm doing this. So yeah, what do we want to do with the money is mainly hire sales profiles and marketing as well to really scale. Our product is ready, and we just have to find ways to get into the network and to scale. Thank you.
Great job, Aurelie. This is funny. We learned this morning that we grew up about 2 hours away from each other between Belgium and Germany. So belated welcome again to the area, and great job presenting. I just jotted this down because you asked at the end. So on feedback for you presenting, I think my only thought is the feature slides became a little bit heavy, kind of the data analytics. I would say, I think my first guess would be maybe focus on one or have one slide and go and say, here, for example, isn't this cool? We can see X, Y, Z and give people insights into one rather than, I think we're all understanding you all do a ton. I had a couple questions. One was pricing, and maybe paired with two things. For how many customers is it a one-off versus recurring? I guess my initial guess is if you have an indoor basketball court, it might be a one-off and it doesn't change. Well, if you're outdoor, you're looking at it on a constant basis. But then also help us maybe understand how you use the product. Is it you all that have to come out? Does it get installed? Is it hardware and then they get a readout every 15 minutes? Or how does that work?
Yeah, those are great questions. So it's a recurring revenue model, so which means that they pay yearly for licenses. And we also rent out the hardware, so that's also like a yearly payment they have to do. And the prices range from 20,000 till 55,000 a year, depending on how much features they want. We already noticed that the 55,000, for example, is great for NFL teams and for MLB teams, so really the bigger ones, and maybe universities, colleges, and some smaller teams are rather more like around 20,000 per year. So that's where we are now. And then for the other questions, what were your other questions? What was?
So actually one more on pricing. To me, it seems surprisingly low. My initial gut would have been that keeping the grounds is a pretty hefty hundreds of thousands a year type of thing, where if I get a tool that helps me optimize it, maybe this question, how often do you lose a deal over pricing? Do you have people that would tell, why does let me make this bigger. When you have a prospect telling you no, what are the reasons that they are not going to use your tool?
This week. A client that said, for us it's too expensive, and that was a professional soccer team here in the US. And I think it's because they said, yeah, we don't need all these metrics, so it's a little bit too detailed for us. And so I think it's still developing. The leagues are just setting up these standards, and I think the more those standards are basic and are like required to measure, then I think more teams will be interested in our tools. So I think we just have to like educate more actually. But a lot of clubs are willing to pay. Yeah, depends on how innovative they are themselves as well.
A really great job on your first pitch. I thought the slides were really clean. I do agree with the feedback around it might be helpful to have fewer slides for a pitch that's just 6 minutes long. You can have so many different decks for all the different occasions, like Toby was mentioning earlier. One question I had was really around the market. I think you defined the market as sports performance and it being however many $1 billion. I'd be curious to hear more, like, do you perceive that this product is going to be able to be used for more than just the professional teams and perhaps the college teams? My hunch is you actually had quite a few customers up there, and I was wondering how much larger you could get to with just these like high performance teams versus going into lower markets.
We're actually also targeting universities and colleges. So besides professional teams, that would be our second. We're talking to UNC, for example, now. That would be our first one, so very exciting. And then on the longer term, I think we're also looking to parks and recreations. We haven't really done much research about it, but I think that might be a possibility as well for a lower price probably. I think they might be interested in the calendar, for example, and to do some basic measuring or for some community fields or, yeah. But if you have any feedback on that, yeah.
I think it would be just great to have in the back of your mind, an investor might ask around, if you were to get all of the professional teams in the US and what's the size of the professional market, the college market, and then having an understanding of whether or not there is a lower cost version of this that ends up getting into high school and other pieces of the market. It's probably just I would imagine a smaller market than the full sports performance market, if that makes sense.
Yeah. As you can see here on the slide, there's about 1,410 universities, colleges, schools that we are targeting. So that's a huge, I think, market. Until we reach that, I think we will have some work. But yeah.
Great job. You had, again, for your first time, absolutely awesome. A couple of suggestions. Avoid eye charts, right? Because investors tend to be a little bit older, present company accepted, and so big fonts are good, fewer words are good, in terms of the slides, and talk to it. You did something early on that kind of intrigued me, but then you never came back. You talked about a player and an injury, and you never came back to that. And I'm sure it was a timing thing, but I like that, right? Because you're personalizing, you're saying, here was a problem, I think where you were going, here was a problem with a particular player, and here's what it cost, right? So just with that one injury, you're more than paying for your solution, I presume is where you were going. And so I like that, but you gotta, if you start it, you need to reconnect it and finish it. The problem solution I liked, I do think you need to simplify that a little bit, because there was early on my mind was kind of running around exactly what solution, what part of that problem you were solving. And then the team, you absolutely have an awesome team and you got a lot of them. I would start with that, right? And that may play into the story of how did we start this business? We started this business because you had people running grounds management and they figured out this problem and the solution, right? So that probably will flow a little better. And then when you did the annual revenue, you threw up a chart. If you actually want to go back to it, it had a really nice hockey stick right there. So investors like hockey sticks. That shows that you're really ramping up. So, and especially if this is a fundraising pitch, I would have spent a lot more time on that slide. And then to your market, the college market in the U.S. is bigger than any of the professional markets in terms of just number of institutions. So I would probably spend a little more focus, especially if you're talking to U.S. investors. And it's great. I actually went to Carolina, so I'm glad you're starting with UNC. And they actually have a football coach. So maybe they'll actually turn into a football school. We'll see. But the other university here that is probably at least as relevant for you is NC State, because they actually have turf management, right? And in fact, I would suggest one of the areas you should go if you're kind of quantifying universities. You could do the top 10, top 20 list, but the other thing you should do is focus on land-grant colleges, because every one of those land-grant colleges is going to have turf management.
Thank you.
All
right, we're at time. Great. Thank you, everybody.